At Life's a Beach Realty, we're all about life on the beach. Stunning Panama City Beach and one of the most beautiful properties on the Gulf Coast. Shores of Panama. Radiant, elegant, and spectacular. Steps away from white sugar sand, every room overlooks the turquoise of the Gulf of Mexico. Come in for your tour today. Life's a Beach Realty is your gateway to Shores of Panama, the shores, and a whole lot more.
Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Blake and Blake Sports, a special edition here on a Sunday night. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. And let's get the man on himself, because we didn't have a show on Saturday and we didn't have a show on Sunday. So we're going to have a show on Sunday night. What's going on, buddy? Welcome to Blake and Blake Sports.
Oh, no, welcome to our own show, sir. Thank you for our introduction to our own show.
Absolutely, our own show, exactly. And we missed on Saturday. Usually out at Ferg's on Sunday.
It's for a good thing, though.
Yes. Well, we got 5 days away until the watch party, which will be, of course, Tampa Bay being on the road. The Bucs versus the Steelers, live at Ferg's Sports Bar and Grill, 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. We went out to camp on Saturday night, and I want to get your thoughts, because I know you had a lot of things to talk about and cover, and I definitely had a lot of things to talk about and cover at this point. So let's get to it. What's one of the first things that you thought that you wanted to talk about on Blake and Blake Sports tonight when you went to camp?
Well, let's get the elephant out the room first. Probably one of the most boringest topics, but something relevant in Tampa Bay. Let's get the kicking conversation out the way.
Sure. Absolutely.
He didn't see the day before, but I did with Santos. Santos hit all of his kicks on Friday, and Gabe missed 2 when we were there, right, Peter? One was rushed, and I think another one he had just missed wide right or something like that at practice. But otherwise than that, the leg strength on him looked really good, something we haven't had here for a while, that 52-plus yard field goals could be an option for us if Gay ends up making the roster cuts when the Battle of Santos.
Well, I believe he was kicking from 62 yards. Didn't it look like he was kicking from 62?
Yeah,
he made 2 of those, and he had room to spare. So the only couple kicks was the one that was rushed, like you talked about, when they were trying to do drill, and a late drill. And then another one he missed, which, it happens. But overall, I think right now it's Gay's job to lose.
I would agree. The fans seem to like him. You know what? I don't want to take nothing away from Santos either. He looked like he's been practicing this whole offseason. Like, I know you didn't get to see him Friday, but when they weren't kicking, he was practicing kicking odd angles on his free time on the other end, and he looked like he's really trying to fight for his job. I think he feels it's his job to lose in his eyes, which that's what you love in camp. Everybody should be battling.
Sure. And speaking of battling, I know that Jameis Winston at the beginning of camp was battling inconsistency from what we saw on Saturday night. I think he looked pretty good. I didn't see any interceptions. Again, he was forcing some passes into those little small windows, but receivers are putting their hands on the ball. And I looked to you and I said, look, if that's picked up, people say, well, Winston once again is throwing interceptions. And I'm saying, no, a receiver puts his hands on the ball. You've got to catch the ball. I also seen Scotty Miller, try to jump up. And I know Bruce Arians was talking about this, how it seems like every time Miller's trying to catch a ball, he's trying to jump up. He just wants him to stay down. I remember Riedel Anthony having a problem with that when he came into the league. What's that all about?
But I remember when that play happened, I told you, I said, the only thing I could think that's going on in his head, he thinks that the defender's getting a better jump on the ball. He's got to trust his speed and separation in himself. Otherwise, there's no reason for him to jump. He should be able to go up, put his hands up, catch these passes, turn and run, especially with the way Scotty Miller's, short stature and speed. So he can pretty much beat anybody in a one-on-one situation. But if he's elevated in the air, he's not on the ground to beat anybody.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I thought it was a well-thrown pass by Winston. He's throwing it to the outside shoulder. Should absolutely have it. Mistimes his jump and drops it. Chris Godwin had a couple of drops, but a really nice catch for a touchdown where, basically Buccaneers.com was trolling everybody on how Winston can't throw deep.
Yeah.
Can we just say that Winston can throw deep? He's just not as consistent as he needs to be, and he has to work on that. But you saw a beautiful pass to Chris Godwin, and then you also saw an area where, again, I told you when we were at a camp that I hope Bruce Arians incorporates this into the offense where he's rolling out Winston, because you see Winston roll out with a breakdown, and then he hits Mike Evans in stride for a deep pass also. So there were definitely some good things out of the camp to see. And once again, Ronald Jones using that power and that speed. You saw a couple good runs, namely the run at the goal line where he basically puts his head down and smashes Kevin Minter right in the helmet, knocking Minter's helmet off. This is really become a big-time story with Ronald Jones. It seems like he's a totally different player than he was last year, right, Blake?
He was not doing that last year. Like I said, there's nowhere to go side to side. There's only one place to go forward, and he didn't care who was in front of him. And I believe they gave him the touchdown on that play, too, when he put his head down and crushed Minter. And Minter is a seasoned veteran. He's not a little guy, so Ronald Jones definitely has been hitting the weights this offseason.
Yeah, and okay, so we saw the offensive line open up some holes, of course, for Jones. What are some of the bad things that you saw? I think mine was obviously the second and third string units just really struggled to have, any flow to their offense. Both offensive linemen were basically out that day with Dotson and, Donovan Smith playing a little bit, but not much. But you've seen the backup tackles there. They really struggled, especially those second and third units. And I said, don't look too much into this. And he said to me, well, we need to, because look, if there's an injury that happens, are these guys going to be prepared? I'm just not sure. They had a really bad night. So it's either good defense or really bad offensive line play.
Yeah, you even said, Peter, he said, well, hopefully to God, none of them get hurt.
Yeah, no, exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and, I know much has been made about Donovan Smith. I'm not a guy that says he can't play in this league. I still think he can play in this league. Do I think he's a little bit inconsistent? Absolutely. Am I a little bit worried about the Achilles situation? Absolutely. You've got to get him healthy. He's got to be 100% and ready to go for the NFL season, because you don't want to lose your left tackle, because that's one of the most important positions in the NFL to protect that franchise quarterback's blind side, and being Jameis Winston. And what you're watching right now is a special Sunday night edition of Blake and Blake Sports. Soon, this is going to become a thing that's going to most likely happen. We're going to have your Sunday night reaction show. Yeah. I think Blake is definitely going to be doing some things on Sunday night. So, Bucs Report is ready to, start pumping out even more content, because it's football season, baby. It's ready. We're ready to go here on the Sports Web, and of course, Blake and Blake Sports. So let's go out to Bucs Report line here. Let's talk to some of our fans.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm looking too while you're doing it.
Thanks a lot for tuning in, Keith Larson and Carter Jameis and Philip Schwagler and Andrew and Johnny Dean and Joshua Morgi and Matt Colson. Carlos Reyes says it was 62 yards with plenty of leg. Absolutely.
Yeah, plenty of leg.
One of the kickers missed a PAT but made everything else. Who missed the PAT? Was it Gay that night?
Well, yesterday they only kicked. What I've noticed, they only used one kicker the whole day. So like Friday when I went, it was nothing but Santos. Saturday when we went, it was nothing but Gay. So if it was Saturday, then it was Gay.
Right. Okay. That's what I thought. Carlos says, hey, Peter Blake, love the show. Heard Kappa is really impressing right guard. Supposedly nobody else is close. What do you guys think? I feel like right guard is their biggest position of need. Yeah, again, much has been made about Earl Watford being the guy, but it definitely seems like Alex Kappa is going to be your starter. I mean, I don't know. I believe in the kid. Do I think he can get better coaching? I'm just not sure at this point. I don't know what you take out of that camp. I mean, what are your thoughts on Alex Kappa?
Yeah, I was looking at Larson's article they put out about Kappa looking like the forefront runner. I mean, we spent a high pick on him for him to basically move into position. Now the job is basically his, with Bennett not being out of the way, out of position, and knowing he's not a guard.
Yeah.
Kappa is going to have to take a huge maturity. Hopefully he can learn a lot from Damar Dotson. I hope Damar Dotson is really in his ear playing that right guard position, because he's going to play a lot of premier defensive tackles at that guard position. So I would just I can't wait to see preseason. I know they get tired of hitting each other, so I want to see when he's actually in game time and see what he really's got going on. But right now, he does look like he's improved from last season.
Yeah, definitely. And I think everybody's improved from last season. I think that's what you can see with this coaching staff, with the development. That's the main thing with a lot of these players in different, sessions of practice. Everybody is getting reps to develop, and that's a good thing. Even Alex Kappa, what's going on? Johnny Dean, the professor, great topic. Kicking and special teams altogether has to improve and be a bigger contribution to winning. How many games, Blake, have they lost on field goals and special teams alone?
Per season, at least 2 to 3 is cost us. That's minimum.
2 to 3 games is the difference between a 5 season and an 8 season. 8 and 8's a winning season. Well, it's 500, but it's the difference between being, once again, a 5 and 11 season to being 8 and 8 to possibly being 9 and 7 or 10 and 6. And if you take care of that, then basically you're good to go.
And the other part, some people might go, oh, well, they didn't lose the game on the kick. Wait, relax. I said, you have to understand, missing that extra point and missing that field goal, basically you have to change your whole offensive game plan, because now you're down 1 instead of being tied, or you're up 6 instead of 7. And that changed the numbers games now. And if you missed the field goal going down on a 10-play drive and come up with no points, now you basically done nothing but waste the clock. And then you got to come over and do it again. So kicking is a huge part in this league. As sad as it says, we've yet to fix it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Scott Smith's Matt Colson said a couple days ago that Gay kicked an indoor 55-yard field goal that hit so high up the wall it could have been good for 65, 70 yards. And it's like the Buccaneer insider, a Bucs report, Leo Haggerty said, from a coach, scout, and media member, there's something different when that ball comes off his leg. We could hear it. I mean, it's unbelievable. And the distance of the ball, besides the miss, the 2 from 62 yards, it's got more to spare. So
he didn't struggle doing it, even with the accuracy. It was right down the pipes. It wasn't like fading to the side. It was right down the middle.
Let's see. Winston has a deep arm but limited accuracy. So what good is that? I mean, I think that one? Yeah. I mean, I get it. I know, Matt, that you're not a big fan of Winston. I get it already, but I definitely think he can throw deep. I think he could be put in those situations where his accuracy can be improved, and I put him in the right offense. I mean, I'm just. Do you want to tackle this one? Because I'm not understanding it.
The whole hoopla with the whole can't throw deep thing came from Deshaun Jackson. And half the time, Deshaun Jackson wasn't probably running the right route, or half ran routes half of the time, or didn't go for the ball. Because when he throws deep balls to Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, there seems to not be a problem, or to O.J. Howard, or to whoever else. It doesn't seem to be an issue. So the whole Winston can't throw deep ball thing came last year. That came to light last year with Deshaun Jackson. So hopefully that goes away, because I'm really tired of hearing that, because I've seen him throw plenty of – you just go look at the tape. He's thrown plenty of deep balls. I mean, everything wasn't short, intermediate passes, even though Winston says since he's came out, he prefers those intermediate passes. But if the long ball's available, he's hit them when he needs to. And the other part is, you don't have a clean pocket sometime to really set your feet and loft the ball and lead a receiver with the line being the way it is. I know I'm not trying to always make excuses. He does need to make some throws that he does need to make, but it's just he's not that bad.
He's not that bad, and every pass that he's incomplete on is definitely going to be focused on this year. And it's like, look around the league with Tom Brady getting his extension. You act like that Tom Brady has never had bad games where he's not completing passes. I mean, that's what it comes down to. I mean, we're going to talk about Winston all year long about incompleting passes, but there's quarterbacks out there that every game have incomplete passes. So let's talk about them. In fact, let's go ahead and chart down every single pass that Jameis Winston misses. And then while we're at it, let's go ahead and chart down Drew Brees and Cam Newton and Matt Ryan while we're at it. Let's go ahead and chart down all the passes that they're incomplete on. How about that?
If it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. Why not?
Why not? Got to get a pass rush this year or it will be another tough year.
I agree.
Cam Brees, Matty Ice will light you up when they get untouched. We talked about the defense a little bit. It's tough to tell because once again, they do have the orange jersey on. We saw a couple sacks from the first unit. But again, you're playing 7-on-7. I saw a couple of breakdowns with the second and third team unit as we talked about the offensive line struggling a little bit with Ryan Griffin maybe holding the ball a little bit too long. It's going to be tough to see because, again, we've heard about Noah Spence. I thought Noah Spence looked like he was a little bit shaken up. Then he came back in. Kind of holding his shoulder or his arm a little bit. Hopefully that's nothing serious. And then there was a story today about Levante David, or actually last night, checking on his knee because he had an MCL situation last year. So it's a little bit swelling. Let's talk about the David situation. What do you make of that?
Well, I noticed he wasn't there Friday and he wasn't there Saturday. So it must be really taking precautions with him, especially coming on the age of 28, 29 years old now. So you got to be a little more careful with his injuries. We've been blessed to not have to deal with huge injuries with Levante David. And he is a smaller size linebacker. So those bruises and beatings does take a toll on him because he's not a bigger guy like the Devin White. So I'm glad they're taking their time with him, letting him heal because he pretty much is going to be fine learning the defense, going to be make the same plays he's going to make. But I'm concerned with his injury because we're really thin at linebacker. That's why we had to draft Devin White. Mentor's coming back off an injury when he was playing well last year. We really don't have a whole lot of proven players at the linebacker position behind David.
Yeah, what you're watching right now is Blake and Blake Sports, a special edition on Sunday night. Of course, I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Blake Anthony. And somebody said last year we had a bad run scheme. Agree with that. Soon Sunday nights will be a recap shows. Can't wait for the fans. Absolutely. Ren Dax is definitely tuned in. I told you guys in the beginning of the offseason to look out for Rojo, that he was going to impress a lot of people. Good to see the young man back up my words. There you go.
Me too.
I think, yeah, you did. And for me, everything that has been said about Rojo looks like it. Let's see what he can do in game situations during the preseason, and let's see what happens with him being a starter. Is he going to be the starter on this team? Is he going to be the backup? Because he definitely looks like an improved player, and he could definitely tote the rock. I think Todd Bowles is going to have very much improved secondary to help the rush. That's what Matt says. Who's the starting running back? Do we even have an every down back? Well, Steven, I definitely think we have two running backs that Coach Arians really likes a lot. You saw Peyton Barber. You could see him getting the ball out of the backfield, getting it thrown to him. It's been more consistent with that. You could see him running hard. And again, for me, the most impressive player besides Noah Spence has to be Ronald Jones.
Yeah, and Ronald Jones, you can definitely tell he's put on size, and you can definitely tell he's way more in tune to this offseason than he was last year. And I'm glad he's got his kind of rookie, thing under his belt. And it took a huge toll on him. I think everything just came at him too fast, which most of us said that's probably what happened anyway, and didn't take it quite as serious. Because going to USC, they just pretty much put the ball in your hand and tell you to run as fast as you can. Wasn't asked to pass protect. Wasn't asked to catch a lot of passes.
Well, it's Dirk Cutter. It's the Dirk Cutter coaching staff. It's like Johnny Dean, the professor, said, coaching matters. Coaches, they don't get paid millions of dollars for nothing, right? There's a reason why coaches get paid. There's a reason why the cream of the crop gets paid big time money, because they can teach, they can develop. This organization has lost that. They're getting back to that. That's why you have to feel good about this team going forward in 2019.
Yeah, put a pin in that too, about the organization moving forward. Unless you want to go into it, unless we got more about Rojo. And remember, we were talking about earlier where they were saying the Glazers were upset about Arians basically kind of handing things over to Leftwich. Remember, we were talking about that.
Yeah, we could definitely talk about that a little bit. And that was the story that came out after the HBO special Real Sports with Brian Gumbel, where Andrea Kramer interviewed him and they went through, his the details of his stress situation with the NFL in 2016 and then coming back. And then there was a story that came out from Pro Football Talk of basically how he had to convince the Glazers that, whatever he was doing with Byron Leftwich, making him an offensive coordinator, they was behind him on it. They were selling because the Glazers, they felt like, look, we're hiring Bruce Arians to come in here, be the offensive coordinator, have the hands-on approach because he's a quarterback whisperer. And now you're making Byron Leftwich a guy that really doesn't, have that overall experience like Arians as a play caller. And now you're trying to convince the Glazers of that. So I can understand where the Glazers are coming from. Then again, you have a proven commodity like Arians. I take his word for it. If he's going to make Leftwich the offensive coordinator, then go with it, see what happens, because Leftwich has played in this league as a quarterback
and been successful at it.
Right.
And a lot of people, I don't know if people really pay attention to in detail to that. So I'm gonna break it down as easy as I can. Pretty much what Arians is doing is Arians is the GM of a store. The GM sees everything in the store. Arians is an older man. He can't do everything like he used to because his health reasons and all that. He wants to stay healthy and be with us and be fully focused on this team. And by him doing that, and that's why I use the word GM, Byron Leftwich and all the coordinators are their managers. If I'm using the store, if they're managers, and he oversees the managers, and the managers take care of the employees, which are the players. Yes, Arians is going to still be the quarterback whisperer. He can take time to do that with Winston while he dilly-dallies and other things too, to make sure everything's running operationally sound as status quo or SOP, running as it's supposed to be. And if something's wrong, then he steps in. That's what Cutter couldn't do as a head coach. That's the difference between a guy like Arians and a guy like Dirk Cutter. He can step in and do all these things. Besides, Cutter was so face first into his play sheet, he didn't see what else was going on. You got wide receivers throwing helmets on the sidelines at the bench, and you're not addressing those issues, and you're just letting these things fester and letting this team just tear apart from the inside. So basically, long story short, Arians is setting us up for the future. For when he leaves, we can have these coordinators move up and become GMs, become head coaches, and intricate parts in this team for the future. Besides, we just go to Arians, and then Arians leaves, then we're left with nothing. We need to get back to the old way we had, where we had all those coaches on our coaching staff with Rondé Barber and Derek Brooks and them, and a lot of those guys are head coaches now, and they were successful in the league. We got to get back to that, building homegrown from in our own backyard instead of going to everybody else's house and trying to find something out of their garbage.
Good stuff. And what you're watching right now is Blake and Blake Sports Live here on Sunday Night, a special edition. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Blake Anthony. Only 5 days away until the first preseason game and until the first watch party at Ferg's. I know you're going to try to be there. I know Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy will be there, and Al Keck and Leo Haggerty. So we'll definitely have you covered that night. And, who knows? Maybe we'll have a reaction show. I don't know how late it's going to be. We'll see what the response is, as always, here on Bucs Report. Thanks a lot for the support. Join the nearly 63,000 following that's going up 1,000 almost every week here on Facebook. And, of course, go to bucsreport.com for all your podcast needs. Cannon Fire Podcast with Rhett Matthew, 102.5 The Bone. Of course, you have Real Bucs Talk with Michael Pless. You have Buck What You Heard with Mr. Gene Thomas and Michael Pless, and then Bucs Ball, a podcast with JT. So there you go. It's going to end up being Rojo. Even though Bucs haven't played a game, I'm excited for this team and season. Go Bucs. That's what Andrew says. What's going on, Robert? What's going on, Ben? Pittman, A-Train. That's what our running back situation should look like this year. If it's anything like Pittman or A-Train, I'm happy with that. If it's anything like Warwick Dunn in the A-Train, which was the WD-40 build, I'm happy. Steven says OJ has to stay healthy. Could be the next Shannon Sharp. If he could just stay on the field, he has to be great this year. Agree with that. Believe they're going to be sending a lot of blitzes up Drew Brees' middle, making him move out of his spot. Wasn't Winston number 1 in air yards? Philip Schwagler says that.
I know he's one of the most second highest rated and outside the pocket. But as far as air yards, I don't know. I don't know what he means exactly by that. By the air yards, you talking about throwing it deep? I'm not sure.
Well, I think he was talking about passes per an attempt, something along those lines, and that's what Pro Football Focus was writing up and saying that the reason why he has an opportunity to make an impact in 2019, a turnaround year. Martrell says yes. Andrew says, I love watching these nightly shows and hearing the great things that go on in training camp. There will always be bad, but just as long as I keep hearing more good, I'm happy. After working 10 hours a day, 6 days a week in the heat, watching, hearing the show makes my day and night. Thanks, guys, for the great shows. Exactly the reason, Andrew,
why we do this
for you.
That's why we do it.
Fans, we give the fans an opportunity. And when we have these watch parties, we want you to come out locally to Ferg's, 1320 Central Avenue, whether you want to watch the Tampa Bay Rays, who swept the Marlins on a hot streak right now, whether you want to watch the Tampa Bay Lightning or, of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, home of the official watch parties of the away games. And definitely let Brian Ford, Chief Operations of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, let him know what Bucs Report is doing and how we're trying to promote the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going forward. What's going on, Heather?
Who's that? Andrew that said that he was working 10-hour days. Andrew, send Peter or myself something with a video or something. The topic you want to talk about. You're working those 10-hour days. I know you would love to, hear your thoughts on the air, and we'll talk about it.
Absolutely. What's going on, Heather? Again, Robert, tell Winston isn't our quarterback. Let's get behind and support him.
Exactly.
Agree. Amen. I'm liking how Rojo is coming out in camp so far.
Yep.
Immediate passing is bread and butter for scoring. Weren't those two immediate passes last year that went for 70-yard touchdowns? One to Mr. Winston, can't throw deep, and one to OJ. I guess the Johnny's saying this intermediate passes, but definitely Winston is good at that. Is he going to connect on every deep pass? Not every quarterback does it, but he has some things to work on. He will. But for me, it was more of Deshaun Jackson being in that offense and being counterproductive for Winston's development than him not throwing the deep pass. Again, it doesn't matter how good or bad the Bucs look in training camp this Friday. We'll start to really find out how these guys play against different players. Agreed. Yep. That's the truth, Ben. Barbara Jones will only be as good as their offensive line. We don't have Todd Gurley type of running backs on this team. So the line better do their part. So guys like Barber and Jones don't struggle so much this year. Good stuff.
Well, let me jump in that one. That's the reason why Peter said earlier they're throwing to the. If you've been to any camp, and I don't think we really stressed, they're throwing to the backs. They're throwing to the backs. They're throwing to the backs a lot. So like I said last year, me and you said on the show, if you can't run between the tackles or can't get to the corners, how are you going to get the ball to the backs? Throw it to them. Get them in one-on-ones with these smaller corners and these linebackers and beat them to the edge and beat them in one-on-one. Those are your handoffs. That's all Tom Brady does. You throw them little small passes to these backs and you beat the guy in one-on-one. Those are your rushing yards. Though they might show up as passing yards, but those are essentially long handoffs.
Yeah, and I think we saw also with going back to the defense, Devin White, when Ronald Jones was coming out, we saw Devin White's speed basically shown on display there with him being able to match up. That's exactly the reason why you got White in the first place. But you're exactly right. Christopher goes, hey, guys, what's up? Rendax has a great point. If Rojo was drafted this year and was having the camp he is now, Bucs fans would be ecstatic about him. I agree. I think with the whole premise of Jones being a bust after 1 year, it's just ridiculous. You have to give a guy at least 2 to 3 years for him to develop. Mature. You have to give him the opportunity to develop, ladies and gentlemen. And that was not there in the previous coaching staffs. And I keep on stressing it, and we'll keep on stressing it, and we'll be stressed out. Look at the white and gray hair on my head. That's the kind of stress right now.
Dirk Cutter.
Shut up. Exactly. Bruce Anderson will be better player than Ronald Jones. That's what Jose says.
It's hard to say.
Bruce Anderson, have you seen anything out of him?
As far as both days of the camp I went, back-to-back days, he didn't really blow anything away. The only person I saw with a big run, that was Barber on Friday. It was about a 35-yard run. It was great blocking. Got to the edge and scored. Otherwise than Ndare, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce his last name. Nobody's really busted out no big runs.
Ukudupu or
Yeah. I'm gonna have to meet him one day and have him tell me to pronounce it correctly.
Yeah, it's like, please, can you pronounce your name?
Tell me how
I'm
to pronounce it.
I'm terrible with names. I mean, I got Philip Schwegler's name wrong at first. I got Joshua Amorgi's name wrong. Now I'm getting them all right. It takes me a while. So, Buccaneers training camp show last night showed the running backs doing a goal line drill. Rojo clears the 6-foot tall line by a foot. Barber knocked the top off the pile. Rojo has Walter Payton type leaping ability. Wow, great. I agree with you. Arians shouldn't have had to sell anything to the Glazers. His track record speaks for itself.
Thank you. I agree.
Again, the Glazers trying to be involved in areas they really have no expertise in.
Preach it. Who is that, Johnny?
No, that's Ben. And I get Ben is the one who posted the article. Ben from Las Vegas. I agree.
Yeah, I agree. I think we talked about that. I think.
But looking at it from both standpoints, I do understand where the Glazers are coming from. They're hiring a coach. He's offensive minded. And they're saying, wait a minute, you're supposed to be calling the plays, having your hands on all this, and now you're delegating that authority to Leftwich, who's unproven. I get it. I understand it. It's from the business standpoint, which we really don't look at sports in terms of, for me, it's just an unpopular thing to do, but you have to do it. Bruce Anderson isn't even going to beat out Dare Ugabule.
He's a good back, man.
Ugabule. Yeah, we've seen that. That wasn't Jones. That was Bruce Anderson. Arians was hired as a head coach, not OC. Do I need to repost my article from last year on coaching duties? Well, I definitely think you got Bruce Arians to be an offensive coordinator and run some type of offense here. Let's not make no mistake about it, Johnny Dean. But you're right. Dungy coaching tree has deep roots and lots of branches. Red Flag Podcast. Air yards are based on depth thrown to. Exactly. Corey Brown is watching. Let's see here. Steven says, even though Winston didn't produce more wins, he was still part of the top 10 overall offense. The defense has to improve and be a force this year, or nothing will change. Third down defense was a crying shame and must improve. Let me get this out of the way.
Go ahead, Peter.
Much has been made on my wall with the conversations of Winston struggling in training camp, how they should go back to Fitzpatrick, and all this other stuff, how they messed up. The first 2 games last year were very good by Fitzpatrick. In fact, they were history breaking. He was on a roll. When he went out and Winston came in, he had his bad game versus Cincinnati. I get it. Then when Fitzpatrick came in, how many wins did he have total? 1. That's it. Did he connect with Deshaun Jackson the same way? No. So stop with the nonsense. Stop saying he's a leader. Stop saying the Buccaneer organization didn't go in the right direction by having a journeyman quarterback start for this team the whole year last year. It's ridiculous. Stop with that garbage. I'm sick of hearing it. I'm going to delete your comment on my wall. It's just stupid. Fitzpatrick is going to be a starter for the Miami Dolphins. He's going to absolutely be a train wreck for that team. He's going to play a couple good games, and then basically he's going to go back to Fitz tragic. All right? We'd love to see you two guys try to get one of the players on the show. I know Dotson usually is accommodating. We'll see. See what we can do. Deontay says the thing Bruce Arians understands is that Cutter didn't, is that you can't have the most vertical offense in the league and not have a run game. Cutter's offense required wide receivers to run long routes that took time to develop, and without a run game, that's a recipe for sacks and picks. I love Deontay Moore. Deontay Moore always brings something to the sports web and also sports. Yeah. But he's very knowledgeable. We have to get him on the show sometime locally.
And you don't have the protection to wait that long.
Right.
They're coming. I said, you're seeing Donovan Smith getting put on his butt in practice by Spence.
Yes.
By Spence. He's getting put on his back. That's what makes me scared about this offensive line. That's why I'm like, if we can get Trent Williams, I'd be more than happy to slide Donovan Smith in that guard somewhere and shuffle that line around, because he's scaring me this offseason.
Well, I don't think, look, I do not think you're going to slide Donovan Smith at a left tackle spot. He's being paid like that. He's got the ego of it. Yeah, I just think he'll be there. But if you could get a Trent Williams and you can start him at the right side, to me, I think the Bucs are just going to go in the direction they have. They re-signed Dotson. He's 2 years removed from knee surgery. He was one of the most consistent offensive linemen. I think he'll be better this year. I think coaching will be better. But who knows? You know, the offensive line definitely has to come through, and it's one of those big-time questions going in to 2019. Rodney says our team will be more sound and tough this year. Welcome, Olga. Philip Schwagler, a full press coverage, says Jameis Winston's average pass completion has traveled 8.24 yards in the air, the longest distance in the league in 2018. Keith Larson says RIP, rest in peace, Don Banks, longtime NFL writer, covered the Bucs in the 90s, died today, found unresponsive in his hotel room at 56 years old. Unbelievable. Worked 17 years for Sports Illustrated. Just got a job with the Las Vegas Review Journal and wrote an article on the effects of the Browns and Hard Knocks because, of course, the Raiders were coming into Hard Knocks. That starts on Tuesday. So a very tremendous loss for the sports community. Anytime you lose the voices or the writers or the guys that really, set the table for you and can write those articles and give you the opportunity to get you inside of the game or tell a story. That's what you don't have these days. A lot of the writers are not great storytellers. Don Banks was a great storyteller, covered the Bucs for many years, covered the NFL for many years. So rest in peace, Don Banks.
Yep.
All right. Corey Brown isn't feeling well tonight, guys. Guess it's up to Ben Cornett to take the troll flag tonight. Good stuff. Everything Blake just said is true. Unfortunately, that would take making in-game adjustments, which the previous coaching staff simply didn't do.
That's the truth.
Can we get a pound for Peter's beard? I think it looks pretty good. It's growing out. Trimmed it up a little bit. Doesn't look as shaggy.
A little edge there. I see you.
Little bit, kind of sharp. Shout out to Get Faded Barbershop in Clearwater. Get right, gets high, get faded. Yes, I did come up with that motto. Also, Ogun Buele. Okay, go for it. So who is our number 2 wide receiver? I think undoubtedly it's going to be Chris Godwin. Even though he had a couple drops, he had a key touchdown pass. Beautiful throw by Winston. There's only one player that's going to catch that. That's going to be Godwin in the corner of the end zone. Go ahead and talk about that. Who's going to be the second wide receiver? It's Godwin, right?
I think we get caught up. If to answer the question, yes, it's Godwin. But I think everybody's getting too caught up. Who's going to be the starter of this? Arian said it before. He said, what kind of offense are you going to run? One that changes every week to the strengths and weaknesses of the team we're playing. So that's why Godwin's going to be playing slot. Scotty will probably be on the outside some plays. Justin Watson will be in it at the slot. OJ will be at the slot. And that's the same thing with the backs. I think it's going to be backs by whatever matchups that we got. If we need to ground and pound that game, then it's going to be Barber. We need some versatility to the backfield, then it's going to be Rojo or another Baghdare or whoever else makes the roster. However that looks, I'll let Aaron's do his job. But I think it's going to be by committee.
Sure, and I think we lost Blake Anthony there, so we'll try to get him back on. But we'll read some of these comments, and then we will get him back on. And let's see here. Ronald Jones has looked much better this training camp. It's just training camp, though. Jones didn't get a fair shot last year. Chris Godwin, somebody says, how has Devin White looked in camp so far? Haven't heard much. Haven't really heard much from him either. But at this point, like I said, I saw the play where he came out of the backfield matched up with the running back speed. So that's always good to see. And like I said, we'll try to get Mr. Blake Anthony back on here. They feel good enough to put his photo up on Ray J. Absolutely. They do. Ryan Fitzpatrick is a career stepping stone quarterback. Peter in delete mode tonight. He'll turn. No, but I'm just kind of sick of talking about, last year's quarterback situation. You want to talk about last year's quarterback situation, go be a Miami Dolphin fan. I mean, if you believe that Ryan Fitzpatrick is a starting quarterback in this league, well, you're not right because, he's a starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins, but he's not a consistent guy. And we got Blake Anthony back here. Smith has been bad. 2 great articles up about the offensive line today. Check it out on bucksreport.com. Welcome back, buddy. How you doing?
Good. I heard everything. I don't know what happened. I heard you say about Devin White. There really isn't much. Nothing really happened besides what you talked about. You got matched up one-on-one. But otherwise than that, it's been status quo with the defense pretty much.
Yeah. And I don't know what's going on with the video right now. It's the Wi-Fi. It's the program. You just have to work with us here. Just stand by. It'll pass. We need to do something with that line, though. Right now, I trust the rookies on the defense more than I do the experienced offensive line we currently have. Pat Yasinskis just posted an article about Don Banks on BucsReport.com, so definitely go and check that out. As always, Pat, a consummate professional who's also covered the NFL since 1993 and worked hand in hand with Mr. Banks. So again, rest in peace to Don Banks tonight. Don't trust the players, trust the system. Lots of sorry linemen play on good teams. What would it take either David or White to beat Hardy Nickerson's all-time combined tackles record of 214 tackles?
What would it take? I mean,
yeah.
It would take a lot of run plays. I mean, they ran the ball a lot in Hardy Nickerson's day. So this is a passing game. So that's going to be kind of really hard to break unless all these teams run the ball. If you really want a good answer from it, they don't run the ball like that anymore. So he would most of his tackles would either have to come off of receivers or the opportunities that he gets when he's running the ball. And that's just going to be hard to beat. And Hardy Nickerson is a great player. I wore his number in high school. He was the first number I wore before I wore my other number. But yeah, Hardy Nickerson was a great linebacker.
Yeah, and I mean, if somebody would have a chance to do it, I definitely think it would be White. Much has been made. Also, they were looking at video over the weekend, seeing O.J. Howard catch a touchdown, and basically kind of see White not necessarily make the tackle at the goal line, let Howard go in.
Mm-hmm.
I would just say I don't think they're trying to hurt play. I don't think he's trying to hurt Howard because Howard's most likely your starting tight end. A lot's been made about, if White is a good enough tackler at this point. What's your feeling on that?
Yeah, I agree with you. Why would they try to hurt each other like it's a game time? Yeah, you give them some competition, let them know you're there and trying to make a tackle on them. But if I'm honestly trying to, break him down and get him down, I want to risk it. I mean, I think you said it best. They're playing, but they're not playing that hard. It's hard playing against your own people. You do and you don't. You don't want to play that hard where you get hurt, but you just want to play enough where they're getting better every day in practice.
Christopher says Jay Gruden has come out and said it's seriously doubtful that they trade Trent Williams. But, Christopher, as we know, who runs that team, it's Daniel Snyder at this point. If he gets a deal, who knows what happens at this point. I don't know what the value of Williams is because he's up there in 31. It's not like he's over the hill, but he has been injury prone. But he is also very, very upset with the Redskins and how they've handled his injury situation. He wants to get paid. He wants an extension. The Redskins are not going to do it, so they're going with Donald Penn.
Send him my way.
Would you stop singing?
Send him my way.
We'll see, but the water on the offensive line is going to be tough to turn into wine. That's the answer to everything right now. Got to have that beef. Ben Cornett, good coaches do it every year. Martrell says our wide receiving core is still loaded despite losing Hump and Djax. Most sites having us ranked so low with the wide receiving core is crazy talk. I think Al Keck presented a ranking where they were saying that the Bucs were 7th in the NFL because of the talent that they have. And you're exactly right. Somebody mentioned Anthony Johnson, saw him a couple times. Flash every time I see him. He's definitely got the speed. So, who knows? Somebody says choppy video. It was. Now it's over with. Blake's video is better than Peter's. Rosen will be starting quarterback in Miami by week 5. Good coaches don't keep bad players. They keep struggling as well.
Well, good coaches make bad players average too.
Right. That's true. Let's see here. Is Justin Evans active? Have not heard anything from Justin Evans. He has not started.
He hasn't practiced. I'm telling you, both days
hasn't practiced.
He stood there in shorts and a T-shirt and a football in his hand and did nothing.
There you go. Do you think the hype around Rojo in training camp will translate to game time? And do we have the run game solid enough to take the pressure off of Winston Sundays? Don't know yet. Don't know.
Too early, man. Way too early.
Too early to say that, but they definitely have to have that running game to provide the balance. The offensive line has to get better. And, of course, Rojo, what he's doing in training camp has to translate on the football field. Enough with the AOL, Peter Ben. I don't have AOL. It just is.
The dial-up.
Dude, shut up,
the little
Ben,
man that runs in it.
What you're watching right now is Blake and Blake Sports here live on Sunday night. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Blake Anthony. Pound the share button. Not true unless they can't do anything at all. Teams value linemen. Happens more than you think. Ben Cornett, I looked at the numbers. A lineman has to be completely useless to get cut. And do you think VH3 will bring this camp play to the regular season? You would certainly hope so. And I think it's possible because once again, he's being put in that system to succeed as being a man-to-man corner. Now, we saw Mike Evans catch a touchdown. We saw the height disadvantage. So once again, it's going to be there because you have a Julio Jones And you definitely have a Michael Thomas who also got an extension from the New Orleans Saints, who pose size threats. That's the downfall of drafting a Hargraves, because he is so small. That's always going to be there. So he has to use that vertical leap, right?
That doesn't mean he's bad. I mean, you just got
Right.
beat. There's going to be tons of corners in this league that's going to get beat by Mike Evans because of height, Michael Thomas because of height, Julio Jones because of height. It happens. You just have to try to just position yourself the best you can and make the best play on your ball. I'm not going to eat nobody's lunch because you were in the best position and the better player made the play. I can live with that. I can't live with you blowing coverages and giving half-ass effort. I can't deal with that.
I agree. I absolutely agree with that. And he's giving effort. I think the best corner in the whole training camp so far has been Carlton Davis. Would you agree with that?
He is the one that got beat though by Godwin on that corner, but Carlton he's definitely took a jump from last year to this year, and I think it's because he's been trial by fire because they had to last year. Him, MJ Stewart put on some size. These guys, I see what Aaron's talking about. These guys are here to play, man. Edwards, they're not. You didn't see him at practice fooling around, splashing each other with water, slapping each other with towels. You didn't see none of that. They were all out there,
music on, just going out there and doing what they need to do. I know that Coach Arians was upset about how they came out after the day off. We're going to see how they come out tomorrow because, basically he's going to emphasize it. He emphasized it. We're going to see how they come out tomorrow. And if they come out slow again, I definitely think Arians is going to get into somebody, and it's not going to be pretty. So, we'll have to see how training camp takes place. Of course, Bucs Report will be out there on Tuesday starting at 4:00. Giving you the latest coverage and most likely having a sports web. Yours truly. I think Philip Schwegler will be out there. Allison Kohler will definitely be out there, and most likely Leo Haggerty. So we'll see if we can give you a sports web edition after training camp. Let's see.
Hey, Peter, don't forget that even had the wide receivers doing push-ups for all the drop passes that day.
Oh, yeah. Godwin a couple times dropped a couple passes and was doing push-ups. That's what I'm talking about. Accountability. It is accountability. Whether it's, it's kind of like, what was it? The movie Major League where Wesley Snipes.
Let's throw back.
Right. Kept on hitting, pop-ups instead of hitting it on the ground. And every time he hit a pop-up, he was doing push-ups. Same thing with Chris Godwin, doing push-ups. So there you go. Let's see. Willie Mays Hayes, by the way. There you go. Shaq Barrett, over under 8 sacks. Philip Schwegler says over under 8 sacks.
I say 8's about a good number for a guy who's never had a full-time starting position. I said that last year about NASA. I said 7 sacks and he got 6. So I mean, no, he didn't. No, he got 7. It was about that. That's about average number. I wouldn't say he's elite yet, over top 10. I mean, given opportunities, it could happen. It could happen. Sure. It's and believe it or not, it's not all because of his pass rushing ability. It's because of what everybody else does. If you force the QB out to you and you got a nice easy layup sack, then you got a nice easy layup sack. That's why it's important for everybody to get pressure on the D-line.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I agree with that. Let's see. Gruden said it would be highly unlikely to trade Williams. We addressed that already. That's a solid number. I say under just slightly. Davis has been on every receiver hip and camp. He did get beat on the Godwin. But again, it happens to corners all around. So you just have
That's going to happen.
Yep. Sam Schwegler, how is Vita Vea looking in camp? I saw him in some drills. He looks like a man among boys.
I got good video.
I mean, he really is just a monster, isn't he?
There's nothing else to say. And the part that you were so amazed, I think it was you, or was it Ray?
Was me.
Said, is a center of gravity how he moves. So just look at his feet. Look at the way he can shuffle and move for a big man. Like it's like the dancing bear.
Oh yeah,
It's
like a dancing grizzly bear. It's just ready to claw your head off. And I again, this is one of those things where fans were saying, this guy's a bust. Really? He's a bust already? 1 year? And it's the Derwin James love. That's what it is. I mean,
and their thing is, they went to the playoffs. I'm like, yeah, the Chargers are a lot better positioned than we are. They've got a quarterback. They've got a running back. They've got the offensive line. They've got things that we ain't got. And I was just talking about the offense. I didn't even get the defense yet.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that. And I'll tell you right now, I think he's put in a better position with the Chargers. I'm not so sure if you draft James in this defense, that he definitely works out.
I wouldn't even say this defense. Just remember, he would have been in a Mike Smith defense.
Exactly. Which means you're not going to be put in the situations that you're being put with the Chargers, right?
Correct.
Right. There we go. All right. Philip Schwegler. I will be out at training camp Tuesday with credentials. Unstoppable. Good stuff. Warhop was bad, no doubt. But at the end of the day, Warhop wasn't on the field, just on the sidelines. But he was the coach of that offensive line, which was a complete disaster.
The part that just blows my mind, Peter, is that you knew Caleb Benenot was bad the entire season, but yet you left him in there the entire season getting beat up.
Entire season. I mean, was Kappa that bad? I mean, could
There's
Kappa
no way.
There's right. Why not put him in there? At least try him out. I mean, again, he can't be no worse than Benenot, could he? Could he? I don't know. We'll see this year. But you have a coaching staff that will be able to get the most out of him, hopefully. Ben Cornett development, I cannot stress how vital that is to each and every player in football, from
youth to adult.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what Johnny Dean says. Andrew, anything on Kendall Beckwith? Nothing on Kendall Beckwith. Nothing.
I saw something. I don't want to confirm it yet. So whoever's watching this, don't say Blaze said that right away. I want to make sure this
on it now. Say it.
I want to confirm it before I say this. I seen him with a videotaping Quan eating snacks in their locker room. Now I don't know if that's our locker room that he's filming him in, or is that the 49ers locker room that he's filming in? That's why I said I don't want to say for sure.
No, not Quan Alexander, Kendall Beckwith.
That's when Kendall was the one recording it.
Oh, okay. Where is he at now? What is he doing?
He was recording Quan Alexander eating snacks in the locker room. So I don't know if that was in San Francisco's locker room, or was that an old video of him in our locker room with Quan. So that's why I said I don't know for sure.
What does that mean? He's eating snacks. He's not on the field. He's not playing. He's not training. What is that?
That's what I mean. He's not here. I haven't seen him anywhere on this facility. I don't know where he is.
Well, where in the world is Kendall Beckwith? There you go. If you know, let us know.
Yeah.
All right. Geez. Damn it, Blake. Always bringing the picture full circle. These guys like Spence, Barrett, NASA will all get there with those big guys up the middle. Speak the truth. Exactly. And that's what you have to be happy with. You make the comparison to Baltimore's defense. I know it's a lofty comparison, but you have an Ndamukong Suh. You have a Vita Vea in the middle. You can have those other players on the outside, and then also Devin White can spill out. That's what a lot of people are. That's the reason why a lot of people are saying Devin White is a lot like Ray Lewis. You say he's Patrick Willis, right?
Yeah, I just say because of the speed. Because it matches up with him with the size and speed. The other part, when you're talking about the interior lineman, I didn't really talk about that when we were at camp. Besides Vea, besides Sue, if those guys go down, we're kind of in trouble because some of the other guys.
You got your guy William Golston there. He can play multiple positions, defensive end and defensive tackle. And you had a interesting article on him. You think he's definitely on the hot seat at this point?
I would hope so. With getting paid the money he's paid, and he's a 6-year veteran, I would hope he's on the hot seat.
All right, let's see here. Sue or McCoy at this point in their careers. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Sue, you disagree because you saw the ranking with McCoy. What was he, 75th in the top 100?
I just ball breaking on that. But
that's just all ball breaking? Okay.
Yeah. It's because that's voted by the players. I mean, that could go so many different ways. But yeah, they're a lot alike. They're a lot alike, and they're a lot of not alike. They're good. They're both good at two different things. They have two different playing styles. Some people like one style, some people don't.
You being diplomatic.
That's the truth of it. I mean, that's the truth. Besides everything else I've said, that's the truth of it. There are a lot alike and a lot of not alike. That makes sense.
All right, let's see. Vita played amazing his last 5 games. Equals he'll be a beast. I need his jersey. That's what Martrell says. Good stuff. This is year 5 for Donovan's development. Shouldn't take that long, no matter how good or bad the coaches are.
5 years.
Isn't college football. Agree? I mean, I think definitely, again, it's coaching. Is he inconsistent? I mean, he's not the worst tackle in the league.
He's not the worst.
Stop looking at the Madden rankings, okay?
Those
things are skewed. All right. They absolutely screwed up all the rankings on Madden. It makes me not want to play, but then again, gives me the opportunity for the challenge. But people are looking at those rankings too hard. Okay. They're going to improve those rankings. So stop looking at that. Is he the worst left tackle in the league? Definitely not. Is he the best left tackle in the league? Definitely not. Is he in between? Yes. Has he missed any games to injury in his career? No. So again, that's a good thing. Does he show flashes of brilliance? Yes. Does he show flashes of ineptitude? Leo word. Yes. He needs to improve on it. He's an inconsistent young player that just got an extension with a better coaching staff. Let's see what he has in 2019. All right.
Yep. He's got his show now. He's paid.
That's it. Because he gets paid, that means he needs to go out and produce. If he doesn't produce, accountability again with this coaching staff, they'll bench him. I have no doubt that they will bench him. Philip Swigler says that video was from last year.
Okay, thank you.
Cornette, what development? This team hasn't developed players since Dungy. All it has done is stunt development in players and throw them away. Do you think the swap of Sue for McCoy will finally put our D-line over the top? Absolutely, Sam. I absolutely think it will put them over the top. I think Todd Bowles will be able to use this defensive system. And if Sue plays the way he did in the postseason and the way he can play, this defensive line becomes that much more dangerous, especially with Vay. Who do you block? They're also putting him at the left defensive end spot. Mm-hmm. So they're definitely interchangeable at this point, both Sue and Vea, both being on that line together. And once again, it will open up those guys on the outside, much like Shaq Barrett and also Carl Nassib.
And also be on the lookout. I got a lot of pass rush drills with Carl Nassib and all the young Noah Spence and all them. And was that Daniels, Kadeem Daniels? They got lost in the sauce with the offseason. The guy that has the one eye.
Yes.
A lot of that. It's going to be interesting seeing those guys going from their hand in the dirt, standing and rushing. So I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, we got a lot of versatility now at outside linebacker. The only part, like I said, we're really thin at is interior line. So Beckner and these young guys have really got to put up, because if somebody goes down, we're in trouble.
Well, you got Bo Allen. I mean, you've got some players that can play those positions, but you're exactly right. You never want to lose players at key positions like defensive tackle. Marshall says Warhop has ruined every line he touched. C2K had the year of his life. Then everything fell apart those following years. Same here. Every other team he's coached, good one year, then nothing after. Can't always blame the coaches. There has to be some players who left the Bucs and still struggle with other teams.
True. That's neck up issues.
Right. Blake loves Golston. Golston has been quiet. Ben
it's the truth.
Well, we're going to get you a jersey. Bucs Report's going to come together, get you a William Golston jersey.
Let me go on record saying this with everybody watching it. Sure. I liked Golston coming out. He's big. He has all the tangibles to play inside out. I was saying, re-sign him because he had that great year. He could play a D tackle. He could play DN. Now, we all knew he wasn't a good pass rusher.
Sure.
I just want to see you get to the pocket. I mean, crush the pocket and get pressures and create havoc. That's pretty much what your job is.
You want to see the penetration. That's what you look for defensive tackles.
That's really his job. Really his job.
Blow it up.
He looked like he lost the will to play football. And he said that one offseason, he said, I thought the Bucs were going to cut me. I didn't have one sack. That tells me right there that you were done mentally. You were done. So you were sitting around collecting checks for the past 2 seasons, and you still skating by, getting paid $3.75 million, and nobody said nothing. Not the media, not the fans, I'm sure the coaches are paying attention to it, but nobody said anything.
Said something. You're not alone in this analysis of Golston. I just think his versatility has helped out the Bucs where they want to look at him at defensive end. They can. They look at him at defensive tackle. They can play him there too. Ben Cornette, not one single Hall of Fame player gets there without coaching. None. Nope. You think they give praise to those coaches for nothing? Shaking my head. Didn't Golston get benched in practice the other day because of not doing something right?
Jumped off sides.
Okay. All right. AJ Adams has definitely checked in. Thanks a lot for tuning in to Blake and Blake Sports, a special edition on Sunday night. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Blake.
Peter, you there? The Wi-Fi, Peter's Wi-Fi go out.
Anthony, solid wide receiver 3. All you want, but some great offensive linemen can overcome bad coaching with talent. Yes, coaching definitely helps. but the linemen still have to play and coaches still have to coach. They
Correct.
both go hand in hand. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. Ben Cornett, I don't care how good a player is. If his stance isn't developed or he isn't taught how to pull, he won't be worth a damn. Peter, AOL again. It is not AOL. I don't have AOL.
It's Roadrunner. Get it right.
That's right. Roadrunner. You're a jerk. All right. Let's talk about a jerk. Sorry. Personal opinion.
Okay, come on.
Antonio Brown, Mr. Big Chest.
Oh, I know you love this one.
Oh, yeah. Arrives in a hot air balloon. Of course, Hard Knocks coming up on Tuesday night. And now, supposedly, he has some injury concerns, a lingering foot issue where he's going to visit a foot specialist. What do you think of Mr. Brown and the Raiders? Already a disaster, right?
It's looking that way. It don't look like he'll be toe tapping for a while. Is that too soon? But yes, I think it. Well, he did get ranked number 3 overall in the top 100.
Sure.
So, the way we all know his athletic ability is not an issue. It's everything else, and we all know the wide receiver position is a diva position. And if you look on YouTube and watch the whole falling apart of the Steelers and Big Ben and all that, Antonio Brown somewhat has a point of everything with Big Ben and the organization and stuff like that. To me, what really lost me as a fan, a football fan, and Antonio Brown, you quit on your team. Those guys are your brothers. You go to war with them. You ride and you die together till the last game of that season. And after that, that's not on you. That's ownership and business. You don't quit on your teams. You lost me after that. And as far as what happens to Antonio Brown at this point is on him. He's brought it on himself. He's a self-made, as he says. He thinks he's Randy Moss, I guess.
No, he thinks he's a TO because here's a player that came into the league much like TO, had some success, and then, basically explodes out on the scene. 15 touchdowns last year. But what's, overshadowing him is this character, this stuff off the field. It's garbage. It's nonsense. It doesn't need to be a part of any team at this point or his personality. He's much better than this. I didn't think he was this type of person.
Did I? You heard Arians even say that. That's not the Brown I know. Nope. And it's bad for youth watching this. They think that's how you're supposed to act. And I think we've said it before, with the whole McCoy thing. I'm not going back into that, but it was just to say, it was just, he got rewarded for being bad. He got rewarded for being a terrible teammate. That's what he got rewarded for. And that's the message you're sending. So if I act like an a-hole, I can get paid. Now, if you want to talk about contracts and stuff, don't get me wrong. Michael Thomas for the Saints was only going to get paid $1.1 million for the production he put up. He deserves every dime he gets. I ain't arguing that. But he went about it the right way.
Right. He went about it the right way. I mean, they didn't talk bad about the Saints. Ezekiel Elliott is holding out right now. There's a situation that's brewing in Dallas if he's going to get paid or not. I mean, they have every right to hold out. Teams have every right to either trade them. Right. I mean, I don't agree with it. I think Thomas definitely deserved the extension.
Oh, God, that 1.1 is a slap in the face.
Right. Well, look, he's under the deal. He's under the deal he signed with as a rookie. So, I mean, and I'll say this, if a guy has a right to ask for a contract extension or a rework of a contract, then the team also has the opportunity, if the guy doesn't play up to that contract, to ask him to take a salary cut.
It should be in their contracts. I agree.
Right.
I agree.
I mean, it should go both ways. Okay, good stuff. Let's see. His feet look gross. Who waits that long to check out their feet? I have no idea who does that. But, of course, Philip Schwegler mentions the Army. I remember being in Marine Corps boot camp and going on those long hikes and wearing boots all day long. You definitely had to take care of your feet. You had to watch it. You have to see if you have blisters because it could become a problem that would be lingering. So you always had to take care of your feet. I know that I had to do that in Parris Island, South Carolina, Marine Corps boot camp a long time ago. Bell talked to him about it. Ben Cornett, coaches teach and develop. Without that, you don't get pro caliber players. Each stage of a football life is vastly different. Each player who succeeds as a coach who has prepared them for each stage. If a player comes from college to pro without that, he is doomed. Yes, kicker. How is that whole thing going? Need some news on kicker. We mentioned that Matt Gay missed a couple kicks, but overall, it's a different sound when he's kicking. kicked a couple 62-yard field goals, had more room, just
he could have hit 70. He could have hit 70.
Could have. What's the deal for Friday night? You guys going to be on after the game to break it down. Mark, we're going to be on before the game, during halftime, and, of course, after the game here, live on the Sports Web, Blake and Blake Sports. We will definitely, I think, start out trying to say about 5:30 or 6 o'clock. Don't give me, because I have to come from work, go from Tampa to St. Pete, hook up. So most likely 6 o'clock, we'll start off with your pre-shows and then really hit you with the pregame show. Yours truly, Alkek, Leo Haggerty, Bucs insider for Bucs Report. All right. Playing great. It looks like a man among boys. Blake, again, coaches aren't playing on the field. They can't hold the lineman's hand every play for every game. Players are just responsible for their play as much as coaches who develop them. Takes two to tango. Johnny Dean asked Blake, if you do believe me, ask Derek Jones, ask anyone who has played. Coaching and development is as essential as breathing. Agree?
No, I get what he's saying. The coaches do have their part. They have you prepare a guy mentally. You put him in a successful situation. It's just like parenting. Sure. You put him in. It's your job to put him in a situation, show him the path, but you cannot make him walk it. That's the best way I could say it easily. You cannot make him walk it, but you can make the path easier. And yes, Donovan Smith. At the end of the day, that's what we're talking about. Or any offensive lineman. At the end of the day, Arians can't help you win that one-on-one with Khalil Mack on the edge. You've got to win that battle, bud. You've got to want it better than him. No matter, coaching can't change that. Either you can get the job done or you can't. And that's not a coach, that's a player. But it is the coach's job. If he can't get the job done, then you got to find somebody who can.
I agree. Tom Brady, a 2-year extension, $23 million a year. This guy's going to play till the end of time, it seems like, right?
It's like that Kurt Warner. I say that about every old quarterback. It takes that one hit that makes you go, I don't want no more of that. And Tom Brady hasn't got hit like that. So until that happens, he'll probably play as long as he said he was going to play.
Yeah, and again, going back to the coaching thing and development, I think it's definitely a big deal. That's why you get excited about the Bucs going in 2019. Let's see here. Answer. Somebody says, great point, Blake. Ben says, do you think Vernon Hargreaves will finally show his high draft selection to become a dominant corner? Yes, Sam, I definitely do, because he's being put in the situation to do that. Finally, a man-to-man corner. He was drafted out of Florida. He's going to play in an aggressive style defense. So at this point, the sky's the limit for Mr. Hargreaves.
Played well till he got injured week 1. Made a great play on Kamara coming out the backfield, and unfortunately land on the shoulder. He had a great offseason. Hargreaves looked like night and day from last year's offseason to this, and played great in that scene. It was so sad seeing him go down injured, because everybody was excited for him to finally get that chance to be matched up on guys and play man coverage, and then he went down injured. But you can tell by his energy out there, he's ready. He's ready to help to prove the haters wrong, and to help the guys that supported him say they were right.
Some losses in the NFL this week. Nick Buoniconti, former linebacker for the no-name defense Miami Dolphins, 1972 team that went undefeated, passed away. Of course, he was dealing with dementia and CTE, 78 years old, of course, inside the NFL for 23 years, once drafted in the AFL as a linebacker for the Boston Patriots, played from 62 to 68, then moved on to the Miami Dolphins no-name defense. 13th round, of course, what he's known for outside of the NFL. His son was paralyzed in a game for the Citadel. Put together the Miami Project to Cure Paralysis, raised over $500 million. So rest in peace, Mr. Nick Buoniconti. And then also Cliff Branch, a Raider receiver, passed away at 71 years old. Him with Fred Biletnikoff, who at the time played before the Raiders, FSU, and Kenny Stabler. They won Super Bowls in 76, 80, and 83. Also a Hall of Famer. He passed away. So a lot of great people dying this week from the NFL. It's sad, but it definitely happens. And rest in peace to all those players that we lost. Laugh out loud, UF, and aggressive defense in the same sentence. Ha, ha, ha. All right, my friend, let's wrap it up here, because we've gone about an hour and nearly 20 minutes here on Blake and Blake Sports. What are your final thoughts to look for in this coming week? Only 5 days away. Actually, this night's over. It's going to be 4 days from the watch party and also first preseason action versus the Steelers.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going against the Steelers, seeing these guys finally get the hit out of their bodies, and for us personally, getting ready to, really getting into the nitty gritty, talking about breaking down players and stuff. I know it's not really our starters, and we'll talk about them as much as we can for the short time that we're going to get in. But to me, winning in the preseason is everybody staying healthy. I just want everybody to stay healthy and get as many reps as they can get and make this 53-man roster plus practice squad players the best team that we can get.
And my prayers are with El Paso and Dayton.
Yep.
We had some mass shootings this weekend. I still don't understand how this continues to go on. But thank you very much for having us in your homes and giving us the opportunity to do sports talk shows, because I do take this seriously. At the end of the day, it does take your mind off of the daily occurrences, the tragedies that go on in the world these days. I don't understand it, but I'm glad that I'm given the opportunity here on Blake and Blake Sports to entertain you and take your mind off of that tragedy this weekend. For Blake Anthony, for Blake and Blake Sports, I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. We'll see you later.
At Life's a Beach Realty, we're all about life on the beach. Stunning Panama City Beach and one of the most beautiful properties on the Gulf Coast. Shores of Panama. Radiant, elegant, and spectacular. Steps away from white sugar sand. Every room overlooks the turquoise of the Gulf of Mexico. Come in for your tour today. Life's a Beach Realty is your gateway to Shores of Panama, the shores, and a whole lot more.